You've been listening to us for a while and hearing us talk about the emotional scale, where you feel elation and clarity, love, appreciation, all the way down to despair, grief, disempowerment, and all those in between that we've talked about endlessly over time. So let's say that somehow, and we'll talk about how in a little bit, you managed to go to bed feeling pretty good, appreciating something. You went to sleep, you woke up, and as soon as you woke up, it was your determination to reach for thoughts that felt good to you. So you managed to find one of those good feeling vibrations. Now, we're describing that as your point of attraction. Your point of attraction can be elation. Your point of attraction can be frustration. Your point of attraction could be fear or despair or grief. The emotion that you feel equals your point of attraction, equals your grid. So we're trying to get you to see some visuals like this spinning grid disc that equals your point of attraction. And the reason it spins is because it is powerful. It is gathering things that are a vibrational match to it. And so you literally are walking around in this day on one of these spinning grid discs that feels like despair, or it feels like elation, or it feels like love or appreciation, or it feels like overwhelmment, or it feels like anger, or it feels like revenge. In other words, you're getting the sense. You can sort of feel where these emotions fall in relationship to one another. So let's say that you somehow, some way are on this high-flying, good-feeling disc. Well, that's the time that you want to give your attention to laying new pipes about subjects that have formerly been not such good feeling relationships. So something will happen. Esther got an email like that yesterday. But she was flying high when she got it. And she thought, I'm so glad I'm flying high when I've got this, because I don't feel terrible about it. I feel like I need to tend to it. I feel like it deserves a reply, but it didn't feel overwhelming to her. It didn't feel like something terrible had happened. It didn't feel like it was the end of the world. It didn't feel like that exact email would have felt under other emotional conditions, you see. So what we're really wanting you to do is not worry too much about your pipes and not worry too much about anything except getting on that high-flying disc, doing whatever it takes to get there first. You've heard us, if you've been listening to us for a while, we were saying that, so you're sifting through contrast and you're launching these rockets and they're vibrationally preceding you. So you've created these vortices that haven't manifested yet. They're vibrational versions of what you've been thinking about. So we want you to realize that when you launch a rocket, that the source within you rides that rocket, and that vortex is really pure positive energy, that high-flying vortex that you want to be a vibrational match to. But we want you to also realize that whatever disc you're choosing has attraction power. And that attraction power is going to bring to you whatever matches how you feel. In other words, sometimes you just got to admit you're on the ornery disc. And when you're on the ornery disc, ornery people from family, from friends, strangers, in other words, there's no discrimination. They come from everywhere to rendezvous with you, because law of attraction says you get what you think about, whether you want it or not. That what you're putting out there vibrationally is coming back to you. Not later, now. Not later, now. So is it going to manifest instantly? Well, it depends on how well you've laid that pipe. It depends upon how much movement is moving through that pipe. It depends on how well you've practiced that pipe. So you get the email and you feel bad. That's not the time to tend to it. Yep. When you're angry, that's not the time to talk to your kids. When you're upset about something, that's not the time to add more attention to it, because the more attention you add to it opens a wider path of least resistance and makes you a rendezvouser with things that are a vibrational match to that. So if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would whittle this philosophy down to 2 deliberate points of attention and therefore action or behavior. We would care about our pipes, and we would be aware of our emotions. So we'd let the not good feeling ones just close up from lack of attention and would let the really good feeling ones just get wider and wider with more and more specific detail that delights us. And we would be aware of our relationship on these spinning grids, and that would be our dominant intention. I'm going to get on the high-flying disc. I'm going to get on the high-flying disc. And here's the part that we so much want you to hear. If you should find yourself not on a high-flying disc, that's not the time to try to claw your way up. It really isn't. Time for another story. Best analogy we've ever given you that speaks to this. It's like you say to us, Abraham, I've fallen out of an airplane and I have no parachute. What should I do now? And we say, hang on, it will be over in a little while. Because there is a momentum going that no action is going to compensate for. And we would like you to feel that way if you're having a fight with someone that you care about. Hang on, it will be over in a little while, but it's not going to get better if you continue to have the conversation. And here's really, this is the thing that we really, if you can hear this, then you're home free on all of this. Oh, never mind. No. This is really, really, really a wonderful thing to understand. It will explain so much to you about all of your interpersonal relationships. So let's say you are on a disc of frustration, and someone in your life is on a high-flying disc. And you have something you think they should know. So you open a conversation, and they clearly don't hear you because they're still smiling. They're not hearing you. And so one of two things has to happen. Either you have to join them on their high-flying disc, which is highly unlikely under these conditions, or they have to join you on the lower flying disc, which is more likely because you're determined to be heard. So a lot of interpersonal relationships are coming to light, aren't they? Because you want to be heard. And this is the thing. If we can soothe this with you. Esther said, it was such a epiphany for her that we don't have a language barrier here. It's not a cultural barrier. It's a vibrational barrier. And she's not always claiming to be the one on the high-flying disc. In other words, if you're on a high-flying disc, don't try to explain that stuff to somebody who isn't. They're not going to hear you. And if you're on a lower-flying disc, don't try to explain anything to anybody ever anyway. Do you know that you could get 90 or more % of your life back if you just stopped trying to communicate those impossible things? Because when you've let law of attraction match you up, you get each other. You're exchanging glances. Your movements are saying it to each other. You're having the same thought at the same moment. You really get it with each other. But if you're not, then don't waste your time or theirs by trying to communicate. Instead, let all of your effort, and we use that word sparingly, be about focusing onto the high-flying disc. So, in short, we don't want to talk so much about the content of the email. We only want to talk about your state of mind when you read it. Mm-hmm. Because you can't control what people send you in emails, but you can control what disc you're on before you turn your computer on. You can control that. And everything then comes from that, doesn't it? Esther was talking to a friend the other day, and she said, I have something to tell you, but I only have 17 seconds to do it in. And we said, well, you've captured the spirit of what we've been talking about to some extent, but that wasn't exactly what we had in mind. Because we think if you're wise enough to know you're headed down the wrong path, you're wise enough to keep your mouth shut. We mean that in the most loving way. In other words, if you don't talk about it, you're going to shorten the path or just let it clog up from neglect. We have just a couple of things that we want to say to you, just as a sort of basis so that we all get off on the same vibrational wavelength. First, you are vibration. We've already talked about that. Next, you are always emitting a signal. So you're always transmitting a signal that law of attraction is responding to. Law of attraction is bringing to you thoughts and experiences that match the signal that you're offering. And as you're moving through your days, even though there are a lot of different subjects, you don't vary that much on the signal that you're offering. Because how you feel is pretty much how you feel. Now we know you have highs and lows and ups and downs. You're all sort of bipolar. You are. You are. Because you are sometimes in complete alignment with who you are and feeling your empowerment, which means you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, you're full of enthusiasm. You just want to talk, you just want to share, you just want to move, you just want to exhibit the happiness that you feel, and sometimes not so much. And the reason that sometimes not so much is because sometimes you get focused upon things that you've been focused upon before that have sort of strong attraction power. So you can be up and down and up and down and up and down many times during a day. You just usually aren't that up and down. The tone of the day is sort of usually what goes through the day. You say, oh, this has been a bad day, or I've got out of bed on the wrong side, or I'm off on the wrong foot. We are certain at this moment that there is nothing important that we know that you don't know. We can feel that you have found resonance with some basic things that are important to who you are. And most important, we can feel that you feel sort of energized, maybe inspired is a better word, to offer some focus that we know is going to serve you in a really powerful way. It is such pleasure for us to interact with those like you who are determined and strong in your desire, who are willing and even patient enough to walk with us slowly sometimes to find these nuggets of clarity that you just feel resonance with. We have been saying for quite a while that we make too much of all of this. In our desire to simplify it for you, we go on and on and on. But it is our knowing that today you have found some simple steps, and we know you feel the resonance with who you are. Our favorite thing about you and our time that we spend with you is that moment when conscious realization occurs to you as you make the correlation between something that you did vibrationally and something that happened in terms of demonstration. That's just the best for us. Not because it's a teaching moment and you've graduated to a new place, but in that moment, you and we are one. And so the experience of life, that's what you're reaching for. You're reaching for that broad allowance of this energy that creates worlds to flow to you and through you. And when you allow it, it's just the best moment. And whether it's a moment where you're realizing something or a moment when you're laughing so hard that the people who are around you cannot make out what you're saying. In any case, it's us right there with you, experiencing the pointed deliciousness of your reason for being. Your reason for being, you said, I'll go forth into an environment that will stimulate new thought. And we said, and we will remain here in vibrational alignment with all that you become. We will hold vibrational resonance in this high frequency, in this non-resistant frequency, so that you will at all times, if you are paying even a little bit of attention, be able to feel the vibrational variance between what you're doing with your thought right now and who you have actually become. Guidance at its best, you see. Guidance with one simple but all-powerful purpose. Guidance.